Hi everyone. So I'm going to channel a message on the subject of what happens at physical death. Do you go to the astral? Do you reincarnate, etc.? That basic questioning. I have about 4 channeled message requests that I'm looking at here right now. And what happened was someone's already stepped forward, a guide of mine, who's chosen one of these topics he wants to talk about. And this has been a really interesting process so far, just in this short time, starting a channeling channel where I don't sit there and just channel all the information and then it looks like it's me, like I'm some kind of damn grandmaster genius from the future who just knows everything, because I don't. I'm stuck with a human brain. When I'm attached to this body, I'm limited by the human brain like you guys. What's very interesting was being willing to stick my neck out, put myself out there, and let them speak through me and say whatever they want. That's a huge step of faith, because I know how it looks. I know how it looks to the culture I grew up in, okay? So it's very interesting, though, that each one of these messages now, it's causing these guides to show sort of more of an individuality, okay, about who they are, which subjects appeal to which of them to speak about the most. That's interesting. In the past, I haven't paid as much attention to who the message is coming from, well, because I've been less conscious about everything, really. But anyway, I'm going to let a guide that I have, who I am familiar with, I've known him at a conscious level. This version of me has been consciously aware of him for maybe 8-9 years now. Started meeting him in the astral a while back. Someone that I've been incarnated with in past lives on this earth. But anyway, I'll let him explain whatever he wants to say about all that. Apparently he has something to say on the issue of physical death. So let me use my lungs to build some DMT here. Build up some DMT, the spirit molecule. So basically I can move a lot of my consciousness elsewhere and make room for more his to be here. That's kind of how I'd explain it. Alright, so I'll be back. Alright then, so, hello. My name, well, in my last earthly incarnation, I was known as Torrance Creighton. My last, well, according to your concept of time, where I am now, time does not actually apply, but I'm here to speak to you more on your own terms. Having recent incarnations as human on Earth. There are other types of human on other planets, but anyway, That's a whole other subject. The point here is to relate to you more from a human perspective. That's why I wanted to speak to you about this message. I have a lot of personal experience, even what you might call recent, although again that doesn't exactly apply where I am, but it does from your perspective, so let's use that. In my recent physical experiences, I know very much what it's like to be looking at it through the human limited ego perspective, wondering about this thing, death. Is it a door? Is it an end? Is it a beginning? All the theories and all the thoughts and feelings being passed around, most of them are quite horrifying and false. The thing is, even the vessel I'm speaking through, even though we're very close, we were brothers in my last incarnation. He was a Cretan as well. We were born in Scotland, we died far from there, but that's a whole other adventure. Anyway, my point is this. Even the vessel, while he's in this body, while he's having this thing called the human experience, he hears me. He hears what I tell him and explain to him on a regular basis about his personal fears and concerns about the thing you call death. He doesn't mind passing between worlds. He does it on the regular. He understands that death is no different than that, except that the body's destroyed. So the last time you leave that body. His concern is about the way people die, the cruel things that humans do on purpose, mostly. Finding ways to hurt each other as much as possible. He's quite empathetic in nature. He's been through a lot of bullshit. Bullshit! Say it right, man. So have I. Been through it together. Of course I'm graced with having a higher perspective on that right now than he does. I share it with him all the time that it's an illusion, how terrible he thinks it fucking is to be tortured to death, but he doesn't believe me when he's attached to his human mortal mind. And I understand that. I understand that because, like I say, I have a lot of recent, so-called, experience with that perspective. Yeah, because I'm not encapsulated or imprisoned by the current human ego condition and the limitations of the human brain, I have access to a lot of other versions and incarnations of myself. Aye, and there's a lot to myself, as well as there is to all of you. But the thing is, the human mortal perspective is useful to you as an illusion. Yet, if you're so terrified of death, you tend to not live your life. And the thing is, death is like birth. It's just something that happens. It's just a natural process where you go through a door. The thing that scares you mostly down deep is that you don't know how to control it. Your society and your world, and I've been a part of it, they're very big on the idea of control. I want to be in control of everything. The idea of dying, well, what kind of a spastic experience might that be? It's like something happening to me, not something I'm choosing to do, right? Birth was the same way. That's why you came in crying. It's not really fun, right? You're naked and exposed and vulnerable, and strange things are happening, and you're passing from one place that seems safe to one that doesn't feel safe. And then you're passing back at some point. And then here's the thing. It may look really bad sometimes, the way that happens from your side of the veil. But I can assure you, if you're willing to have the faith, people retain their dignity at death. It's what you don't see happening, okay? But you will. You will when it's your moment to pass, when you've had enough of this personal incarnation you're having as what you call human. When you're ready for the next thing in your experience, you'll pass through that door the way that you see fit, believe it or not. But I can assure you, your dignity is maintained. The things you see happening to the body sometimes makes it look like all dignity, all control. Everything you built up to in life is being taken from the person as they go out the door. That's what I'd like to clarify upon today for those of you that are concerned. You die with dignity. You're greeted by all sorts of friends you forgot you had until you get close to that time, and then you see them and you realize this transition is very much a supported thing. You're not alone. No one ever passes over alone. The saying in your world, you're born alone, you die alone. like most things in your world that people cling to, it's a ridiculous self-limiting illusion. However, like I said, these illusions are useful. Y'all chose to incarnate in this primitive world for good reason. Keep that in mind. It's not like it's a punishment, okay? However, some clarity about the things that can cause you to dwell in darkness and miss out on the opportunities of actually living. Some sage advice concerning all this would be, don't fucking worry about death. It takes care of itself like breathing. It's a natural thing. It's a passing. It's a letting go of the body, just abandoning it when it's time. Okay? And your higher self will know when that's time, and it'll be easy for you to do that. In the meantime, if you don't worry about it, if you don't concern yourself with death, you concern yourself with life, and realize life is the challenge. That's the challenging thing while you're here. Where you come from, it's easy street compared to this, okay? Where you are now is the challenge. It's to have the courage and the clarity and the awakeness, the consciousness to actually live while you're there. Because if you don't, that's what you end up regretting at the end of the life. When you just take what was given to you and you give it back because you didn't do anything with it, that's always a regret, and it's very common for people in the world of earth known as human. The majority in numbers at your current time generally do not have the courage or clarity to live the life they came there to live, to be what they are. The connection to that is found in your heart. In your heart is a sense of empowerment and courage, a knowing that it'll be okay, even if your mind can't understand how it'll be okay. You see, your heart is connected to certain wisdom that the mind can't necessarily interpret. So I'm doing my best to put it in human words, trying to relate to you as a human, so you can understand that you've all experienced physical death multiple times before, and you've still chosen to come back. So obviously it wasn't anything that was so challenging or troubling for you that it made you decide not to come back into this world. Living here is what beats down your spirit in most cases, okay? The second you're letting go of your physical body, things are getting lighter and better and brighter, and you start to see how much more there is to everything than what you were allowing yourself to perceive to be all of it while you were having a human experience. Again, it's a valid experience, limiting one's own perception. Sometimes incarnating with more blinders on allows for a certain kind of soul growth that wouldn't be possible when you sit in a realm where you get to have free access to all knowing and all bliss. Alright? So all of you are brave at the soul level. You're very brave. You knew that physical death was not something you're afraid of. Your spirit knows that. The higher you's fully aware of that. It's only the physical temporary ego, which you could say actually only exists in what you could call your human brain. It's literally only a few years old, and it has no experience of the universe or life. It has no understanding. Your current ego hasn't gone through death yet, so it fears it. It doesn't understand. But the real you, you've passed between many different kinds of worlds, and from a higher perspective, it's not even called death. It's just a changing of form. You could say it's like shedding a garment. Yeah, you could compare it to a lot of things. But again, when it comes close to that moment where you're actually about to pass over, it's a known thing. It's a known thing that's now been agreed upon by your higher self and by your guides, and they're there with you as it occurs. And they make it much easier than you think. Sometimes when you see a human body or an animal body spasming and thrashing around, experiencing an awful death, what you don't realize is that's something the body can do completely on its own. It doesn't have to have your consciousness or your spirit attached to it anymore to thrash around and scream and even say all kinds of crazy things. The human brain is still there. All the things that you ever trained it during your life, the words, the patterns, the activities, the body language, it's all still there, even after you're detaching from that body. So when you see physical suffering at the time of death, realize that was just a body. That was a body going through a physical process. The consciousness of the person became quite detached from that body quite early in that process. The higher self is very wise at judging just how much pain is useful and how much is just trauma that serves no purpose. and you're never subjected to more than what's actually in your own benefit. The detriment is in the fear of it. The fear causes things to be more traumatic than they really are. A great deal of you are living in trauma for things that haven't even occurred yet. Dwelling on death or suffering or this and that, things you're afraid of. You're suffering already. You're creating suffering out of something that hasn't even occurred. There's a good chance it won't. But you're powerful creators. If you dwell on that vibration strong enough, you'll attract more of it to you. You can have more of a suffering experience, but trust me when I tell you from personal experience, it's in the living. It's in the living in that world. It's in the living in the earth where all that pain, all the trouble and all the stress and all the trauma is actually experienced at the actual time of death. You'll be amazed how much support you have. Alright? Now granted, there's been plenty of messengers in your world, what you call NDEs and near-death experiences. I'd say that's not exactly accurate. It's not so much near-death. It's just dying, but having a body that's not completely destroyed. So as it's resuscitated, you can pick it up again. Some of you astral travel, some of you consciously. Now this vessel himself does that, and he understands that death is like that. It's the leaving of the physical body. The difference is, of course, you're really leaving that physical body and you're not coming back. Now generally, when you astral travel, you enter what you refer to as the astral realm. Yes, well, this realm you might say is a between realm. Between what you call in physical earth and a higher dimension, more where your higher self exists. The astral is sort of an in-between, and it's very fluid. What I'm getting at here, the beliefs and the state of one's emotions and their mind as they pass or physically die determines what's waiting for them on the other side. If you have strong expectations or religious beliefs or some kind of other belief system about what you're going to experience after you pass, generally you do. The good news is, however, you're not boned forever if you have crappy beliefs. Because in the astral, reality is changed as quick as your thought about it is changed. You're not stuck there forever. Nothing's being inflicted upon you. You're left to realize on your own that you're the one creating it, which is much easier to do in the astral than it is in the physical. In the physical world you're in now, most people never figure that out. Granted, in your future as a species you're going to know this, but generally, as of now, people in your world do not see that they're the ones creating their reality, because it takes what you call time for something to manifest. And most times along the way you've changed your mind and your focus so many different ways that by the time part of what something manifested that you created a while back, you don't even recognize it. Furthermore, paradigms and things have to fall apart in your life to make room for what you're manifesting. And most of you don't make it through that process because you think everything's going wrong and falling apart, and you don't realize it's just clearing space for what you're choosing to create. On the other side of this veil, things happen instantaneously. The beliefs you're holding, the frequency of feeling you're holding, you'll be in a place with others just like that, whatever that frequency is. Oftentimes people have expected to go to hell when they die, so they find themselves in a place with demons and monsters or wherever they picture hell to be. And yet as soon as they call out for help or realize, they're open to being rescued, or they are ready to move on to a better place, the second they realize that, it starts to occur. Just like that. Because your consciousness is connecting with a different vibration at that point. In other words, the astral realm is not one thing. It's not something that's a certain way. The astral realm, again, it's very flexible. All sorts of entities and all sorts of levels of energy exist within this in-between state called the astral realm. You can make connections with higher vibrational beings. You can make connections with lower vibrational beings. But whatever it is you're resonating with, mind, body, and spirit, as you pass over, you're going to find yourself in an environment that's exactly matched to that. There are those that insist on remaining ignorant even then. And they spend, well, Being that there's no time on the other side, you could say it's instantaneous or it's eternity, but either way, they choose to believe there's nothing, and so they go into sort of a coma on the other side, a denial-induced coma. I'm not here, there's nothing here, and they just sort of lay there attempting to sleep and not be for a long time because nothing's pressuring them until they're finally ready to accept, oh yeah, I still exist, I'm a permanent being. The belief systems I held to so strongly that I was just a temporary thing and I was going to go out like a light and not come back, it's actually not accurate. When you're ready to see that, then you start creating again on the other side. But nobody makes you do that. If it's your choice to believe you don't exist, you can slumber. You can rest in peace. The vast majority of you would be glad to find that everything's much more expansive, and connectivity is great, and understanding and perspective. You'll understand your entire life, your entire incarnation just like that as you're passing over, because the so-called laws of time are broken for you. That illusion is stripped away. And you're connected to the fact that there is no linear time. The higher you is experiencing all sorts of different incarnations, future, past, different realms and dimensions, different species, different galaxies, all sorts of things. Even multiple parallel versions of the same thing you are right now, right next to you that you don't see necessarily. You might sense they're there. Sometimes you even shift from one timeline to another. Most of you without consciously realizing it, but that's what you've done. Even your past has changed, what you guys call the Mandela effect. It's a real thing. It's just a thing that, like most things as humans, you don't spend much of your focus being aware of these types of things. You actually tend to spend most of your energy blocking them out, so you can stay focused on the things that the current human collective has agreed are the things to be focused on. But for those of you that are not satisfied with just the five senses and material reality, you ask some good fucking questions. This vessel doesn't even believe most of what I'm telling you, and yet he's willing to cooperate. He understands through experience, countless experiences now, that the wisdom he gets from his guides always supersedes his own ideas or anything he listens to from anyone in this world. He's tested it enough times to know that even if he doesn't have the faith to always believe everything he hears from myself or any of the others who speak to him, he's found that by acting on it, miraculous things occur. He's never been misguided. It's never let him down. So even though his human, mortal ego mind has trouble accepting and having faith and finding peace in some of the things I share with him on a regular basis, he's at least willing to let it be passed on for those who are ready. And if you're not, that's fine. When you're ready, you'll be ready. And it's okay if you fear your death and worry about it, etc. You'll be pleasantly surprised to find that that was a lot of wasted energy fearing something when you could have been focusing on living, because that was, again, the challenging part. That was the opportunity. So, the astral, yes. Now beyond there, there's higher realms. A lot of people immediately pass from the astral in the higher vibrational realms. Again, this depends very much on where you as a consciousness are at. Others pass to lower realms or darker realms. Some of them even do so willfully on purpose. Again, there's two sides to creation, and one of them is called destruction. The yin and the yang are the same great being, but that's hard for most humans in the earth to accept or understand and comprehend, because the experience of having a human ego makes one feel so vulnerable and afraid that they hate to imagine that their source, something that they come from, is everything they fear as well as everything they love, and so much more than all of that. But it's true. It's the actual truth. That's why there's both light and darkness in you, and you can always choose which frequency to manifest more of. In your current physical experience, you'll draw to yourself energies, consciousness, trains of thought and feeling. You redirect your own path into a different co-creation based on what energies you're feeling, thinking about, focusing on. On the other side, these things happen so much faster. It's very easy to understand from here when you don't have the limited illusions of time and space. But it can relate to you on the human experience. I think it's important to know, if you're troubled by these things or just very curious, The death is easy compared to what you think. It's like being let out of a box you didn't know you were in most cases. Some of you know you're in it. But the box is on your perception, and it's on your connection to what you are. Of course, there's no limit to how much of that you can actually access during your incarnation, but realistically, as most of you would call it, in your current human condition, it's a limited experience, your awareness of the larger you. It's hard for you to have faith in the things that truly terrify you, and that's understandable. But the truth is, physical death is absolutely nothing to fear at all. Yet it's entirely okay to fear. And don't judge yourself for fearing, and don't be afraid of the fear. Fear is okay to experience. It's a perspective, it's a vibration, it's experience. It makes you more valuable to the whole. To the great all it is, when you return, the more vast your experience is, the better of a prodigal child you turn out to be. Again though, for those looking for a bit of peace, understand the higher you is in control of your actual moment of death when it comes. It was not an accident, it was not a victimization. It was something that was planned, it was the right time, it made the most sense to you. The more in touch with your higher self, and the more faith and more connected, the more easy this will be to grasp and understand and experience. The physical body is always going to struggle against the idea. The physical body doesn't want to die. That's the way it's wired and built for good reason. Even when you're outside your body, you can watch it struggle for survival. Many of you will experience this. You already have, you just don't consciously remember it. You've watched your own bodies die in many lives. It can be kind of sad, being attached to something and seeing it destroyed. But you are not destroyed with it. Now your consciousness, the real you, is more vast than you're currently equipped to understand. So the thing physical death is an opportunity to return to what you really are, bearing gifts that you collected while you were here. That's actually what you're here for. You're collecting treasures to take back with you. When I say treasures, I don't mean trophies of conquest, etc. I mean personal growth to you, whatever that really is in your consciousness. Something you'll be able to keep with you and apply ever more in all the different versions of you continue to expand upon. And there's nothing like the struggle that is currently agreed upon to be human earth to facilitate that process. Just know, when you're troubled by this, trust me, it's not the dying that's hard. It's the living that you're having a challenge with. Thinking about death is a distraction and a waste of your time. It's like worrying about being born. What's to worry about? It'll just be. It's not even something you have to do. You don't even have to make it happen. It's easy. It's like breathing. Something you've done so many times. You don't remember consciously, and you don't need to because it's an automatic process. It's very natural. Then again, it is possible to maintain the cells of the human body. It's entirely possible. In fact, the thing was not designed to wear out after a certain amount of arbitrary time you've agreed upon, say 70 years. This is an agreement and a belief in you being the indwelling possessing spirit within that physical structure. All those cells are listening to you. You're the voice of God echoing through the universe. So when you agree with the collective starting at a young age that 70's an old man, you're falling apart and all that shite, well, that's your reality. You've been programming your cells every day of your life to have that experience. And there's nothing wrong at all with that experience. There's nothing to say that a million different 70-year incarnations is any better than 1 million-year incarnation. The truth is your soul's collecting from all of them and growing. It's only the ego and the temporary you that has to keep starting over and feeling like a fool in diapers. Getting a diaper rash time and time again. Having to go through these stages of growth just to get back to where you were, to pick up where you left off. And in many cases, that's not what happens. You get so distracted along the way. You do not pick up the things you meant to carry on with in your life. You end up what's the word for it? What's the terminology for it? Yeah, too distracted. You're just too distracted to understand who you are. You don't pay any attention to your own hearts, which again is fine. You're eternal creatures. There's actually no pressure except the pressure you feel while you're in that world. There's a sense inside of you that there's something you're supposed to be seeking or doing or being. And if there isn't, then then you're not looking. Every one of you had vast, grand envisionments of what you're there for. And from where you plan these things, you're fully aware they're entirely possible. And yet almost every single human that has the human experience in your earth, in its recorded history, in the current conundrum of time and space you find yourselves in, collectively agreeing and creating together, mostly unconsciously, it's quite difficult in that frequency to come in contact and to trust that which you actually are and to listen to it. But again, it's not living the life, it's not being what you came there to be. That's what hurts, that's what's regrettable. The way you die is never the problem, it's never the issue. It's all the wasted time worrying about that as you were living. So, from my perspective, having had the human experience plenty of times, even what you might call recently, having been killed in what you might call awful ways for living what I believed in, etc., I can tell you this: live your lives to the fullest. That you will not regret. Look inside your heart. Your heart actually is free. Your heart's actually free from the shit that the convoluted shite that's been put in your mind. It's been trained into your mind. Your heart is free of all of that. Your heart has the actual you. The you that cannot be tamed by this world. That cannot be lost, ever. If you find that, you find yourself. And then you actually live your life the way it was intended. Which again, it's not a necessary thing that you do that. But the amount of rewarding richness, the treasures in heaven, so to speak, that you attain for yourself by living what you came to be in a world that's set up to make it very deceptively difficult to do that. It's so rewarding. It's so incredibly rewarding to your soul. You're an amazing prodigal child returned, and your soul will have the greatest party and celebration that this galaxy has ever seen when one of you actually lives to the capacity of what you came there to be. It's not easy for good reason. You wouldn't be growing. You wouldn't be giving yourself this great opportunity if it was easy. There's many beings who have never incarnated in the physical at all because they'd prefer to remain in bliss, in all-knowingness and oneness, and the feeling of perfection, perfect comfort and joy and enlightenment for all eternity. Those of you who are not willing to settle for that, you've gone through all sorts of things, lives and deaths, and you continue to. Even though you fear your death as you're disillusioned there in your life, once you get back to the other side, the vast majority of you are lining up and promising to high heaven all the great things you're going to do in your next physical life on earth, because you can see from here. When you're in touch with what you really are, you can see what's possible. You can see the actual opportunities on this planet earth for your growth. You can see them so clearly. You understand the value in it, and you're willing to risk disillusionment and missing it again when you go back there through that veil and forget everything. However, it's not necessary to forget. Some of you walking your planet know who they are. They brought their past incarnations with them. Others of you are awakening who you are. You're reconnecting with it. It gets to a certain point for some of you where a certain part of you senses enough safety and enough stability in your life to start accessing parts of yourselves that you didn't feel safe accessing before that, due to past life traumas and things that occurred, due to misunderstandings on this planet, fears of anything unknown. Anybody brings anything outside the box and bad things can happen to them, right? Well, your higher self can always find a way. You can always be guided how to be you without having a bad outcome. It is possible. It's the fears mixed in with it that cause the negative outcomes, that cause you to be martyred and trouble. And this one himself, he doesn't understand that. He thinks he does intellectually, but energetically, he's carrying traumas with him that cause him to re-experience what it's like to be sabotaged in things that he does. Sometimes he even does it to himself without even knowing how he did it. He destroys things that he created because there's a deep down subconscious fear that someone else is going to do it to him, so he does it first. He destroys his own creations. He destroys his own life, metaphorically, and very damn close to literally in so many instances. Granted, he is getting better at this point. He's starting to listen more. He's starting to allow himself to feel it, the truth that we've been channeling through him more, sharing with him all along. By sharing it with others, he allows himself more access to the benefit. Strangely, he didn't realize before that what you give to others, you give to yourself. The human condition's a very connected one, even though there's this great illusion of separatedness. Right, to hell with it. You're actually all very connected energetically at the superconscious and at the subconscious and at the collective unconscious and at the collective superconscious. You're all very connected with each other. So what you're putting in for somebody else, you're actually giving to yourself. The question is, will you accept it? It's very possible to give a gift and not be willing to receive it. This imbalance of energy causes disease, but psychosomatic disease is probably a whole nother lesson. This was about physical death. How to explain it in terms that the mortal mind can do something useful with. Understand that when you die, it'll be because you're damn well good and ready. It'll only be your ego that never agrees with that, because the ego is a temporary thing. It's a temporary illusion, and it feels that by losing that illusion, it's actually losing its existence. That is the illusion, you see. Your ego actually has no existence. It's an illusion in and of itself. It's not the real you. It's a necessary illusion to have the human experience. You're not a human. I'm not a human, but I can relate as one through having experience there. There are entities that will speak to you through this vessel who've never incarnated, and their perspective is extremely high vibrational and uplifting and healing, etc. And that's good for a great deal of things, but sometimes what a person needs to hear from is someone who's actually been through what they're going through. So understand, death is very much an illusion, and wasting any time worrying about it is being distracted from what you're actually there to do and be. This is a truth from your own higher self speaking to you here. It's not just me. Every one of you knows this at a higher level. That to think about death, to worry about it, is a distraction. It's an illusion that causes you to miss out on being what you came to be. And oftentimes you simply manifest your death sooner than you should have because you're dwelling on it, you're creating it for yourself, which is fine, again, but there's no need for it. There's no need to create unnecessary setbacks and have to reincarnate over and over and have the same disappointing experience. When one changes their own expectations inside and their own perception of what they are, and learns to trust and listen the access to what you are, to who you are, to who you've been, to who you can be, to who you will be, because again, your future is already a part of your soul, and you have unlimited futures in different forms. Now, which of them any of you is tapping into at any given time, that's on you, isn't it? And I know that's a bit hard to comprehend from the human mind, but if you're in touch with your heart, you can feel that that's actually truth coming at you, because it's already inside you, that truth. If you feel it, it's a good sign. Focus on where you're feeling that. You can find a lot of other truth in that same place that you're feeling that one. So this is a message of comfort, it's a message of courage, and it's a message of not letting the illusions cause you to miss out on the opportunities that you came here to use those very illusions for. You could even compare your physical incarnation to the ultimate video game. What you're experiencing now is just an avatar. It's an avatar character you created for yourself to have this experience in this world. But it's the ultimate game because it feels so real. You forget what you really are and you go into the game and you get to live it. Even though the real you is writing that story. The version of you you're experiencing now is the one on the page. And this is a beautiful thing from your higher self's perspective, which is the actual you. So remember again, all these things you're going through, you're creating the treasures for yourselves that you keep forever. Your personal growth, your personal empowerment and perspective. These treasures are worth so much more to the real you than the things the earth distracts you with. Money, fame, sensual pleasures, material possessions, status, respect, fear, a big position. All these things can be used by your soul, sure. But if you're overly attached to them, then you're just stuck in an enslavement of ego, and deep down you're just afraid because your ego knows all that's going to be taken away. And if that's what you formed your reality out of, and you know it's going to all be taken away, then you're truly a cursed mentality. And that's the way you live your life. Look around your world with the people that say they're illuminated and have all the power. If they were truly illuminated, would they be doing such miserable things to the planet and each other? They're not illuminated. Actual illumination sets you free. You feel free. You have freedom in your actual heart, actual awareness. You're in touch with your eternal nature. You can use this incarnation to your benefit. You're all doing God's work. You're all doing the work of the great all that is. The great he, she, this, that, whatever you want to see it as being. Consciousness, love, light, information, never-ending expansiveness. It's your birthright, your eternal birthright. You're birthed of it, you are it. You're both the creator and the creation. But having the human experience, just know, you'd be more of a master of your current life if you set aside all the concerns about your death. Because again, it's easy, like birth. It's just something that happens. You just get pushed from one world into the next. And there you are. And this, the world you're living in now, this is the heavy one. This is where it's hard. This is where you're carrying all the weight. You're all heroes for even being here. If you start to respect yourself as such and realize the vastness of the awesomeness of what you really are, don't worry about death. Death is nothing compared to you. That's why you've gone through it so many times and you don't even blink an eye to jump right back in and do it again. You're not concerned about your physical death because you know it's nothing. The real you knows it's nothing. You're concerned about the opportunity of what you're calling a life here, okay? The disillusionments that occur in this world, because of the true nature of what you are, the freedom and expansiveness of what you actually are in spiritual consciousness, it feels quite constricted to be living in a physical earth life. It's not your actual nature. That's why it's somewhat miserable. However, to see past those illusions and realize that you're using this, it can become ecstatic instead of miserable. It's a change in your awareness. It's a change in which part of yourself, lower or higher, the main focus of your own consciousness is setting in. The movement of your own consciousness from one realm of your own mind, you could say, to another. To access multiple realms of it at the same time. So you can still have the human experience, but you can use those illusions because you know what they are. It's either you're using them or they're using you. And both experiences are entirely useful and valid. However, to be more of a master, to be ready to graduate from this planet and come back as a guide or perhaps go elsewhere to a more idealistic world, to be ready for that, to resolve what it is you're experiencing here, you need to take advantage of the vast opportunity that comes from living in such a dumbed down state, believe it or not. But no, death is an illusion. It's nothing to fear, but it's okay if you do. Think of it like birth. Watch some babies being born sometime. It doesn't look all that fun. They don't know what's going on, being pulled from one world to another, not feeling like you're in control of that. It's a bit scary. It's a bit emotional. Same with death. But most of that's just in the genetics of the body itself struggling to survive. That's the way it's wired, for good reason. Every physical organism on this planet, whether it even has pain receptors or a brain or not, has a built-in innate struggle for survival. So when you're feeling that in yourself, realize that's just the physical body itself. That's in your genetics, as you call it. that's in your primal animal wiring. It's not the actual you. The actual you laughs at things like that. The actual you finds it quite humorous that you can be an angelic being and an animal at the same time and have this amazing melding of an experience and be so damn confused and yet gain so much from it. The real you's laughing at all this. The real you's much bigger than what you even call life or death. So, from my perspective, that's how I want to explain it to you. As a human, as I'm still relating as such, some of you may not realize it, but this is another thing about death. You don't pass over to the other side and then become something completely different. You'll still have your personality. It's just that you'll have full access to who you are and where that personality actually comes from. You really know why you are the way you are. You'll know the real you. You'll have access to all the reasons and all the vastness of what you actually are as an individual. Right now you experience your personality, but you don't even know where it comes from. It just seems like something you were inflicted with at birth, but it's not. Every one of you is a unique individual because you have vast experience before this illusion of time and space you call an incarnation as a human on earth. Remember that and contemplate it the best you can in your physical human brain, but remember the brain's only going to go so far with it. You have to feel that truth here. This is where you find real courage and strength, to where things like death and pain don't even hurt no more. There's power in here. There's a connection to something bigger here. This can't do that, but this can. So remember that. It's okay to use your mind, to do your best to evolve the human brain by trying to make it wire itself to wrap around bigger and bigger concepts over time. Believe it or not, you are genetically upgrading the thing you call a human brain by struggling with things like this. You're doing the human being, the human current creature, a great service by stretching the human brain and working with it to expand it. Just like with any physical capacity of your body, if you push it further, you end up passing on better genetics in that area. So those of you that like to challenge yourselves with trying to wrap your human mind around things that are too big for the human brain, it may be frustrating at times, but you're actually causing a speeding up, an awakening of more of the potential DNA that's actually within the human body. You're benefiting human evolution by even trying to understand these things. That's my point. But know in your hearts, the real you laughs at this thing you call death, this illusion. It's not a death. It's letting go. It's letting go of a struggle you chose to incarnate into for a while, because you have a vision for who you came to be. The world offers you darkness and ignorance. The current human world, that's what it offers. That's what's chock full of. Darkness, illusion, ignorance, lies, deception, misconceptions, limited thoughts, small-minded thinking, enslaving belief systems, etc. The opportunity is for you to decide what kind of light to be in the midst of that darkness. You see where you come from. Metaphorically, everything is more like a light. So being a light there, you don't even show, which is fine, you're part of the whole. But you that have chosen to develop as individual consciousnesses, you incarnate into a place of such great darkness with a vision of what type of totally unique, never seen before spectrum of creative light you would choose to be into that darkness. So instead of hating it, instead of hating all the pain and suffering and the anger and the false accusations and all the mean things and the petty things and the lowly thoughts and the lowly feelings of your world, realize that's the only thing you came there for, because it offers you the opportunity to say, okay, all this darkness and ignorance, clearly it's what I'm not. Now let me show what I actually am. Focus on that. Be what you are. Live your life. You're eternal. Don't miss out on this thing you've incarnated into so bravely because you're concerned about the thing called death, which isn't nearly as challenging as the thing you call life. And that's the truth. And I know you can feel it inside, but I know the human brain still has concerns. The ego still fears death, whether they admit it or not. The ones that say they aren't afraid of death are actually more obsessed with thinking about it than anybody. It's unavoidable. At the ego level, every human being fears death. The ego has to. It's designed that way. Otherwise, you just walk off a building one day because you don't give a shite. You can't live in incarnation if you don't have built-in physical struggles to survive. But to access the higher you with more perspective can give you a great deal of clarity in the opportunities you have living this life in your world. So you don't waste it looking ahead down the line at some imagined version of what death might be, only to get there and find it wasn't near as bad as you thought. And you wasted a great deal of your life concerning yourself with death. There's actually no such thing. It's a false concept. It's a false concept to begin with. But again, these illusions are useful to the human experience. There is no death. There is energy changing form. There's consciousness changing form. Again, you're not human. You've been many other things and you'll be many more. You're just having the human experience because it was in your wisdom and your courage to do it. Nobody's here by accident in your world. Nobody's being punished. Nobody's had this done to them. Every single one of you chose to be here with a grand vision for what you are. And it's never too late. If you're breathing right now, you can still be that. Whatever you are, whatever you really are. And only you can actually know that by looking deep inside. Finding it in your higher self. Your spirit guides can reflect things to you that you already know inside to give you the confidence to realize that you do know it. But only you can really express the true creative uniqueness of the individual source of creation that you actually are evolving into by choice and by free will. By many means and mechanisms, and this human earth experience is one of them. And you're to be honored and appreciated for choosing to have this experience. Again, it's not necessary. Incarnating in a world this harsh and physical and dull and dumbed down is not actually necessary. And yet the opportunity for accelerated expansion of your personal power, your personal consciousness, you expanding yourself as a divine being, can be drastically experienced in your human world. That's why you've incarnated there. So physical death just be freedom. You just be reuniting with that which you really are. Much more so than it's easy to do from where you are now. You'll be back to understanding fully why you chose to incarnate, and the only regrets you'll have is that you didn't live more as who you really are while you were there. That you let the world and all its influences and all its lies and the things it taught you to fear make you believe you're smaller than you actually are. When you get back to the real you and realize how grand and vast you really are, you'll understand that you laugh at things like physical death. It's nothing. It's nothing compared to the real you. So there you go. I guess that's it for now. I hope to be sharing more messages. If there's anything that seems relevant to me, again, it's a message of love. It's a message of relating to you, hopefully at a human level. I still resonate. I still relate to the human experience quite strongly. Being that I'm not physically incarnated right now, and my brother, he is, I'm a guide for him. And we've done this vice versa. But right now it's his turn to be there with you. And be dumbfounded himself by these illusions. Even though he knows better at some level. His human brain, his human ego is still struggling with the same walls of perception that you'll find common in your world. He simply allows messages to pass through, whether he's able to comprehend and believe them himself or not. He understands that the message sometimes makes it to someone who isn't ready to expand on it greatly, even if he himself is not. Do not put the messenger on a pedestal. Do not put any of us on a pedestal. No matter where we're coming from, no matter where anyone speaks to you from, and how much wisdom and information and energy and powers they may have, you are unequal to them. There's nothing out there, no matter how evolved or what species it's currently incarnated at, that's actually more empowered or powerful than you are. There's only things that are more aware of what they are, that are more aware and therefore experiencing their power and their perception differently than you are. But this current thing you've chosen, this illusion you've chosen, this limiting experience of human of earth, is an illusion. It's not what you are. you grand and vast, and choosing to experience yourself as so small and focused, it can be quite painful. But the living part of it is the part that you tend to make painful for yourselves. The death part's not as painful as you think it can't be. That's just not the way it works. The design of the universe is more wise and more beautiful, more wonderful and more right than you can perceive having a human experience. Hopefully these words have comforted you. Hopefully you believe me more than this guy does. Hopefully you can receive that truth and not waste any time dwelling on death. That's really my message here. Death is freedom, death is expansion, death isn't even real. It's a leaving behind of a limitation you're choosing to experience temporarily. So, while you experience that illusion, make the best of it. Don't be in a rush to die. Don't even be in a rush to live. Don't be in a rush at all. Be in the now. Be in the now and be. Don't worry so much about the doing. Decide what it is you came to be. Find it within you. Start being that. The doing will take care of itself just like death will. All those things come automatically. Your challenge, having a human incarnation, is to understand what you came to be. What the opportunity is for you. Look within yourself. Find it and believe in it and be it. No one else can do that, and no one's going to be able to make you do it or explain for you what your path is. You'll only find the reflections in others, myself included. It's only in you. Be that what you are. That you will not regret, even if everyone in this current silly illusionary world doesn't get it. Historically, everyone in your world, however, left anything that later was appreciated was made fun of and ridiculed the entire time they were walking among you. For the most part, there's exceptions, but that's been pretty common. As well as having their words twisted and turned into cults, and everything they were not being done in their name as soon as they left. This is common in your world. Don't stress about those things. Remember, you're here primarily as a steward of yourself, for your own soul, to collect the treasures and experience and consciousness they came here for. It's a temporary experience. Don't get wrapped up in fitting in and worrying about what others think. It's a pointless waste of your time. It's all based on the fears of the ego, that if it doesn't fit in, that means death. On your planet, people have lived as tribal for so long that even though society's changed that now, you're still stuck in the tribal pattern of thinking and being. In your DNA, you fear that if you stand out, you're going to be kicked out of the tribe, and that means you won't survive. This is limiting a lot of you to a great degree. So understanding, even in your own physical genetics, what's holding you back, and which is the mind of the flesh versus the mind of the higher you. The higher you is infinitely expansive, and the thoughts you're afraid to even think because you believe they're too good to be true, that's the higher you. And that's a possible timeline you're envisioning. You couldn't imagine it for yourself. You couldn't even have that fantasy if it wasn't possible. Again, it's about the living. That's the challenge, and that's the opportunity. Yes, an illusion, a distraction, like so many things in your world. I'll leave you with that now. I gotta go. He's getting tired of me. He's getting tired of my presence. I gotta be leaving now, but I'll leave you with that. I give you my love, and I give you my appreciation and respect for the experience you're going through. I can relate to you. I've been through a lot of shite. I'm just telling you from someone sitting on the other side of the veil. Don't waste your time with the fears about death if you can help it. Realize that the only things you may regret about life is that you didn't live more from your heart who you really are while you're there. That concludes this message. Over and out for now, my friends, and until next time. Peace and wisdom and insight be with you. Goodbye. What did you say your name was? Give me your name one more time so I can write it down. He never told me his name before. What's your name? You said it. I got it recorded. But, what was it? something cretin. Anyway, I got it on video. Okay, well, okay, cool. So that's what he wanted to share. I'm just the messenger. I guess he felt like he was the one that delivered a message on that. So I give thanks for all involved, for the protection here, for the guidance of this overall situation. I get to be honored in doing something that is much needed in this world, a bit hard to understand, even for me. But to be used in this way to help myself and others is a great honor. Anyway, I'm going to go watch that message myself because I'm having a lot of trouble remembering any of it right now. But I'll go ahead and post it. I don't edit these anymore. Like, I don't watch the video before I released it because my guides told me stop trying to drive and read at the same time. Okay? Do one or the other. You want to drive, go drive. Go do male-oriented activities that are all based in your mind. You want to read, get out of the way and read. So I'm not driving here. I'm just reading or being a phone or a pipe or something. So I'm going to go ahead and upload this video, and then I'm going to go watch it myself and see what I get out of it. Okay? That's just a friend of mine. Okay? He's very human. Okay? In how he chooses to remain at this point and be. So, and like I said before, there's going to be some interesting videos, I'm sure, about who spirit guides or guides. Not all of them are disincarnated spirits, although all of them are interacting with us at the spirit level. So I guess the term spirit guides is accurate, regardless. But anyway, I'm having my mind and heart expanded as we go here. And yeah, so I'm very curious to go watch this video. Alright, thanks guys. Much love. And I think I'm going to go reset, do a little meditation and stuff, and see if I can get neutral and then take up another one of these topics today and get a channeled message about it from whoever deems most worthy to speak on that. Okay, so hopefully there will be more today. We will see. I'm just cooperating here. I can't force or make anything happen because it's not even me making it happen. Anyway, over and out for now, guys. And much love as always.